What is up everyone on YouTube, and today we have another Epic 7 tier list video for you guys today. And today we're going to be ranking all of the 5-star RGB units for PVE. Now the last time I actually made this tier list was last year, so this is the first one for 2024. So we're just going to be going through and just talking about all the 5-star RGB units in the game and how they rank. And as you can see, we have separate tier lists here. We have the OP tier, very strong units. We have the strong tier. These units are decently pretty good. Mediocre, just okay. Niche, these units will be used in certain areas of content, maybe like 1 or 2 areas of content that are just not really played that much. And then the bad tier, these units are just not going to be that great for PvE. So let's just start from the top here. So we have Abigail. She is a fire warrior. Fortunately, she's not that good in PvE, so she's going in the bad tier. Valencia here, very good with her defense break and her AoE strip. Honestly, you can use her for like Nightmare Queen in Raid and just the Nightmare Raid in general. There's a lot of bosses where she's actually okay, but in general I say that she's not that great. Her defense break is nice though, so I think that will land her in Mediocre. Mid, she has a CR push, she has attack buff and critical hit damage with her artifact, but honestly not really a point to ever use her. She does have a cleanse, so I will put her in the Mediocre tier. Araminta, a lot of AoE damage, a lot of debuffs, which is usually bad for the most part for damage dealer because a lot of buffs don't want to get debuffed too much, but she also has an AoE attack buff. That attack buff alone puts her in Mediocre. Arya, she is pretty solid for Nightmare Raid as well, but besides that, she's not really used anywhere else. I'm going to put her in the niche tier. Just keep in mind, niche can be better than Mediocre sometimes. They might be really good in their niche, but just keep in mind I'm keeping them in this tier because they're only really used in like 1 or 2 areas of content. Arunka, mostly a PvP unit for barrier units, so bad. Balance is on, only used for green expeditions, we'll put him there. Baikin, also only used for Banshee one-shot, so we'll put her there, although she's very good there. Basar, terrible. Bihu's also pretty bad for PvE. Bellona's pretty good. I'd put her in the strong tier. She does a ton of single target damage, she has a defense break, and she just is a very solid PvE unit. She has damage on her S1 that scales with the boss's health, which is insane. She has no debuffs, which is good. She has a ton of defense breaks, and she has AoE damage as well, so definitely a strong unit. Benamaru, only really going to be used in PvP, so we'll put him in the bad tier as well. Blooming Lidica, same thing, in the, what's it called, bad tier, not really used in PvE at all. Bomb Model Kana, definitely another strong unit, very similar to Bellona, I'd say, just because their damage profiles are pretty similar. I think Bomb Model Kana does less damage, but she has more buffs for her team, which is very nice. She doesn't have a defense break, but she does actually have a strip, which is also very good for a lot of bosses and in a lot of areas of content. Very good in Azumnak, very good in Nightmare Queen, just very good anywhere you need a lot of AoE damage, and she's also very good with Mascot Hazel because she's a fire unit. You can actually use her in the Zeo fights, and she's very good there as well. Now we have Bryag, this guy, right? He's OP. Now, a lot of people might not think he is, but this guy makes expeditions and Wyvern 13 super easy. Best knight for expeditions for 4 out of the 5, which is insane. You can literally have him on the shittiest gear and he still is insane for expeditions. For Wyvern, it's the same thing. He makes your runs super stable, he makes it faster, and he's just a very, very powerful knight, right? He has damage built in, just does crazy damage with his multipliers. He has a defense break, he has a full strip, and he has speed down. And speed down is very good for certain areas of content where they don't resist it because you just start lapping the boss like crazy. So he's very, very strong. Biblis, another PvP unit. She was used in the Advent Hell side story, but besides that, not really good. So we're going to keep her in the bad tier. Cecilia, she's like what Brieg was before. She's still very good, but Brieg kind of just like, power crept her for PvE. So we're going to put her in the strong tier. Still good in expeditions, still good in some areas of content like Raid and even some, Abyss floors, but I'm going to keep her in the strong tier. I think she's somewhere around like here, right? Celine, PvP unit, used to counter non-attack skills. Cerise, I'd say she's mediocre. She used to be like up here, right? When she first came out, she was like up here for PvE, but now you don't really use her anywhere. Actually, I'll put her in the niche tier. That's a lie. You use her in Dark Expedition, but that's it. She's pretty good there actually, so we'll keep her in the niche tier. Sirmia, we're going to put Sirmia in the strong tier, somewhere around here. She's very good for hunt one-shots. She's very good for expeditions. She's just very good wherever you need a lot of damage. She also has a non-attack skill, so she's good for KDs, right? Normal teams, just a very powerful unit overall. Charles, not really used in PvE. Actually, he's used in Banshee one-shot, so we'll put him in the niche tier, somewhere around here. Doesn't really matter. Charlotte, I want to put her in Mediocre. I know some people like to use her for PvE, but I just don't know why you'd use her over something like a Bomb Model Kana, who does a lot of AoE as well. We'll put her in the Mediocre tier. Her damage does, kind of scale up, and she's very tanky, which is very nice as well. Chloe, niche, she's good for some hunt one-shots with like specific tuning and stuff. Besides that, not really used. Shu, she is used in Nightmare Raid for the like bug guy. I guess they're all bugs, huh? The fire bug, Executioner Carcanus, I believe. So we'll put her there. Next we have Command Model Leica, not really used. Destina, she's okay. I don't really want to put her in strong. I know some people think she's strong, but I think she's mediocre for PvE. Like her cooldowns are very long. She doesn't have enough like healing over time. She has a lot of burst healing, but her healing over time is pretty bad compared to like Angelic Montmorency and like Tamarin even. And yeah, I'm just gonna put her in mediocre. She's okay. Honestly, you could probably argue her being at the bottom of strong, but I'll keep her mediocre. You can use her in some Nightmare Raids, but most of the time there's just better units. If you want more healing, just go Angelica, a 4-star unit. If you want more cleansing, go Angelic Montmorency, a 3-star unit. Yeah, and just not that great. Moving forward, we have Diane. Diane is very strong for PvE. She has a lot of turn cycling. She has an AoE shield. She also has an attack buff and critical hit resistance buff, which is super strong. I'm going to put her in the strong tier. The only problem is she has no built-in healing, so she really relies on an artifact. You need most likely Rod of Amaryllis on her, or even her own artifact for her to be good in PvE. Otherwise, she just doesn't heal, and she's pretty useless. But if you do have it, she's very strong. I think she's criminally underrated. She kind of got power crept, but honestly, I still think she's pretty good. Next, we have Dizzy. Dizzy she's either niche or strong. I'm gonna put her in niche. She is like one of the best niche units. She's good for Abyss, like the early floors of Abyss, and she is the best unit for it by far. She can make a ton of floors like trivial. Honestly, I'll just put her in strong because you can use her in Wyvern as well, and even Azunak, and probably Nightmare Raids. So we'll keep her in the strong tier. She is an old unit from Guilty Gear, but she's still one of the best units for cheesing like Abyss and some bosses out there. Ada, not that great. Put her in bad tier. Edward, good against debuff heavy bosses, but honestly, you're not gonna really use him too much. I'll put him in niche, but I think it's like a very, very kind placement. I think he should probably be in bad tier. Elena, also niche. She's good against some bosses for Nightmare Raid. She's good against Executioner Carcanus. Elagos, wouldn't really used. Elfelt, good in hunt one-shots, so we're gonna put her in the niche tier as well. Elvira, you're not gonna really use her. Amelia is niche as well. You can use her in some areas of content for PvE where you want to boost up a unit. I think she's also used in Expedition, right, for one of the bosses. Honestly, you can put her in the bad tier as well. Urvalen can be used in hunt one-shots, so you can be niche, but honestly, I'm going to put him in bad because he needs a buff. Fairy Tail Tenebria, bad unit. Flan, used for hunt one-shots as well. Fumir, also bad. Fixed damage is terrible in PvE. Haste, niche for Rift, but I guess like after this Rift season ends, he's going to be useless. I guess you can also use him in some one-shot comps, right, for hunt, so we'll put him in niche. Holiday Athene, her damage is terrible, so we're going to put her here. Hwayoung, not that great in PvE, we're going to put her there. Ilyanov, injuries are terrible in PvE, we'll put her there. Issaria, easy OP, she has so much support, she has strips, she has cooldown resets, she has a non-attack skill, that's really good for KDs. She has a defense break, right, just a very powerful unit and unbuffable. She's going to be extremely good for Queen. She's also very good for like any hunts, honestly, that can actually use her. And she's just used in a lot of areas of content, especially when you pair her with Tamarin. Very strong. Jacko, used in Rift, but outside of that, not really anywhere else. I think you can actually use her as a damage dealer, just like a single target damage dealer, but there's a lot better ones, so I'm not going to really put her higher than bad. Janua, bad as well for PvE, mostly a PvP unit. Kane, very good for Rift, right? But because the Rift season's ending, I'm going to put him in bad. I think he's going to be pretty much useless after, which is kind of sad. Kalric, also pretty bad for PvE. Kayron, decent like AoE damage dealer, honestly. I used to use him a lot, but he's just power crept. You're not going to use him over Bomb Model Kana. Ken, he's okay for some hunt one-shots, good for Ancient Inheritance, so we'll put him in niche. Kisei, you're not going to really ever want to use her. She's like pure damage, but there's units that do more pure damage than her, like Luna, which we'll talk about soon. Crow, just a decent pick. I'm going to put him in mediocre. I used to rate him a little higher, but I think with Brieg out, why would you ever take Crow over him, right? Crow has that defense buff, but Brieg has literally a barrier for your team, and it's way shorter cooldown. So definitely going to be in the mediocre tier, probably somewhere around, say like here. Laya, I think Laya's just OP in general. The dual attack's crazy, the cleanse is crazy, skill cooldown reduction is crazy, right? I'm going to put her somewhere around here. She's a very powerful unit with that dual attack and her S2. Even if you don't use her S3 at all, she's still super strong. So I'm going to put her up here. You can pretty much slot her in for expeditions, adventure mode, just anywhere where you're fighting challenging content. Landy, put her in OP. She is one of the best damage dealers for PvE, if not like the best. Tons of damage, like tons of damage. She has CR pushing for your team. She could CR push herself with dual attacks if you run like Tamarin, Adventure Ross with her, and you get a lot of dual attacks with her. She cycles very quick. She has access to Guiding Light, which makes her super safe in PvE as well. Just one of the highest damage dealing units in the game. Honestly, I think she's number 1 right now, currently on this list. Lethe, PvP unit, terrible for PvE. Whitaker, used in like Abyss Force somewhere, but honestly, not really worth your investment. Lilius, she's decent. I think she's strong actually, and she's pretty strong because of that AoE cleanse. Also, those dual attacks are very nice, so we'll put her at the bottom. Actually, probably I think she's like up here, to be honest, so put her there. Lilibet can be used for hunt one-shots, but yeah, similar to Arvalian, like you're not going to really want to build her for it. She's pretty bad, takes a lot of gear. Lua, PvP only unit. Ludwig, also PvP only unit. Next we have Luluka. So Luluka is pretty decent, especially because she's a mage. You can put her on Isle of Violin, so she has built in the spell. She also has that non-attack skill, a defense buff, a barrier right on her S2, which is very good for KDs. She also has 2 defense breaks, 1 single target, and 1 AoE. And she's very good in expeditions. You can use her in fire, you can use her in dark, you can even use her in light. She's also good in KDs, she's also good in Azanak, she's also good in Wyvern. Now the thing is, even though she's good in those areas of content, she's not the best, but the reason why I have her pretty highly compared to other units is because how flexible she is. Like, you can put her on one set of gear and she'll be good for pretty much all those bosses. Maybe you have to switch her artifact from Isle of Violin to like Daedrum Joker for PvE for some bosses, but in general, she's a very good investment because she covers a lot of the bases for a lot of content. You can reuse her on the same sets of gear for a lot of areas of content. She's very good there. Luna is kind of like Landy, but a little bit weaker. She's mostly used in Fire Expo. I'm going to place her around Sirmia though, just because, honestly, I'll probably put her a little bit lower, just because she just doesn't do as much damage as Landy, and she's not as widely used as Sirmia. You can use her in Wyvern, but she's not that great there compared to other units. You want to mostly use her for Fire Expedition and for Abyss, but besides that, not going to use her too much. But I know there's a lot of Luna lovers. Honestly, I should probably put her in Mediocre, because she's not really used in that many areas of content. Or maybe I'll put her in Niche. Fire Expedition Niche, she's very good there though. Moving forward, Melissa, PvP only. Midnight Call Lilius, PvP only. Milim, PvP only. Mort, PvP only. Mui, PvP only. Noggle, PvP only. Oceanbreeze Luca, PvP only. Pavel, PvP only. Peyra, PvP only. A lot of PvP only units. Politis. Ram is actually good for Banshee one-shot. She's pretty easy to build for it if you have her. Ran is also pretty good for Executioner and Carcanis, similar to Elena. Ravi. So Ravi, I'm going to put her somewhere around here. Now, a lot of people don't know why I like Ravi so much for PvE, but that's mostly because she's similar to Luluka, where she's like a jack of all trades. Honestly, I'll probably put her at the bottom of the strong tier, and I'm only putting her in this tier because if you are a newer player and you have Ravi, you can literally bring her everywhere. You can literally bring her anywhere, everywhere, and she'll be your front line. She'll do a ton of damage. She'll heal herself, and she's just very strong. So for that, we're going to put her in the strong tier. Just a nice jack of all trades. Honestly, most people will probably rank her somewhere around mediocre. Honestly, I'll do it like this. I think it makes more sense. But she's a good jack of all trades. You can bring her for a lot of areas of content. She's pretty good. Next, we have Ray. Ray is good for cleansing niche. He's very good in Julie Council fight for nightmare mode. We also have Rem. She is also good in Hunt one-shot for Wyvern. She's the easiest to build Hunt one-shot for Wyvern. You need like Aros with her and like some other units, and she's very strong. Rimuru, mostly a PvP unit. Hawkeye, she was, originally intended for PvE, but she sucks, so she is in the bad tier as well. Rwana, OP unit. Honestly, I think here, no one does what Rwana does. She is so strong. She has a ton of healing for your team. She makes like almost impossible boss fights like super easy, and she's just always strong with that S2 passive. Honestly, if they removed their S3 and S1, she would still be OP. That's how strong her S2 is, because a lot of bosses in harder areas of content have counterattacks and extra attacks. So we'll put her in OP. You can use her in Adventure, you can use her in Expeditions, you can use her in Hunts. Nightmare Rage, she's pretty much a must-have. If you don't have her, you actually struggle a lot fighting the last boss, so definitely good. Roy Mustang, I'm going to put her in Mediocre just because he actually does a ton of damage. That's all he does, but he does a crap ton of damage, so we'll put him there. Seaside Bologna, honestly, I'm going to put her in OP. I think, honestly, most people put her here now, but I think she's still very strong. She is good for hunts, like Wyvern. She's good for Azmonak. She's good for Katie's. She's good for expeditions as well. She's good for Nightmare Rage. She's good for just a ton of areas of content, right? She has a ton of damage. She has nice debuffs, and she has a defense break, and she has target, which makes your team do a ton more damage. So OP for sure. Honestly, maybe, yeah, I think I'm going to put her at the bottom of OP for now. Senya, mostly used for PvP. We're going to put her down here. Says, just a bad unit. We're going to put him down there. Sharoon is also PvP. Shuna is PvP. Sigurd is like the best niche unit in the game because she's so good at Wyvern, but outside of Wyvern, she's useless. Soul is mostly going to be used for Golem, so we're going to put him here as well. Very good for Golem, one of the best Golem units in the game. Summer Break Charlotte, I've seen some people try to make her work in PvE, but I think she's just mediocre. It really depends on the area content. I've seen her in Nightmare Raid as well. Actually, I'm going to put her in bad, my personal opinion. Summertime Assyria, PvP unit. Teiyu, PvP unit. Tamarin is Tamarin. She's going to be OP tier. Honestly, I don't even know if she's better than Rwana overall. Just because, like, some bosses, if you don't have Rwana, like, especially in Adventure or, like, you know, Advent side stories or some other, like, areas of content, if you don't have Rwana, you literally cannot kill them most of the time. But if you're missing Tamarin, you can still kind of get around it. I'm going to put Tamarin higher there. Overall, just, you know, power levels, I think Tamarin's stronger. Tenebria, she's going to be used for Earth Expo. I'm going to put her in niche. She can also be used as a defense breaker. She's not that bad. Tywin is a PvP unit mostly now. Vildred is pretty good, actually. I'll put him in mediocre. Anywhere you need AoE damage, like, you know, the Spider boss for Raid or Azmonak, he's pretty good. Or even Banshee, but just not the best units for those areas of content, but he's still decent. Violet, also mediocre. He's similar to Ravi, jack of all trades, frontline. You know, you just put him in the front, he lifesteals, and he can just solo a lot of content. Vivian, pretty decent unit. I'm going to almost want to say strong, just because you can use her in Raid, you can use her in hunts. Actually, a lot of hunts, right? Hunt one-shots, like, they almost all want Vivian because of her attack buff, and because she has Time Matter to reset the cooldown on her S2. Very strong. I think one of the most underrated units. She's also good in Raid, like I mentioned, and she's also pretty good in Adventure mode as well if you need an AoE damage dealer with an attack buff. Euphine, PvP only. Yulha, PvP only. Yuna, honestly, I personally think she's okay. She has AoE damage and she has an attack buff, but they need to change her S2 to give her an extra turn. Otherwise, she's like, you know, she just wastes the turn, right? Buffing her team, which is terrible for a damage dealer. Sahak, a lot of single target damage, but unfortunately, you're not going to really use him in PvE that often, so down here. Zeno is terrible. Igisel, terrible for PvE. Actually, not terrible, but not that great. Karina, PvP unit, but she's very good there. Ningning, PvP unit for barrier units, and Winter, also a cheesy unit for non-attack skill users. So, yeah, this is the finalized tier list. Honestly, you only need to see the top 4 tiers. If you don't see a unit here, they are just in the bad tier. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think, and if you guys think I should move a unit up or down, and I'll see you guys next video.